Hello students, Namaskar, welcome to Career 360. The NEET exam has been conducted and most of you are very distraught. Many of you are in shock and a lot of you yesterday and today we've been noticing calls and seeing people and all. Children were crying when they came out of the examination halls. Today also when we speak to students as counselors, many of them are so shocked that they don't want to talk of the examination. One of the things, let me tell you, is it's extremely important for you to understand that this paper is the same across all the 21-22 lakh students who appeared for the examination, which means the difficulty level is not just meant for you, or it is not being felt only by you, but every student who is actually appeared for the examination. So to that extent, there will be a massive score deflation, and to that extent, a rank inflation. Both are going to act in tandem with each other. So you must understand one simple thing, that the score deflation will ensure that your rank will still remain what you expected it to be, while the score might be slightly different. Let me explain to you through data of how things panned out over the past few years and how possibly it's going to be panning out in the current year. And this will be very crucial for you to understand what kind of college you'll get yourself into. To put the data into perspective, you must understand one more thing, right? In all, in India, last year about 1,09,000 seats were there in MBBS. This year it's going to be about 1,15,000 because the government also announced that a few more seats will be added by the public or private sector. And of the 1,15,000 seats, you'll have almost 50-50 between public and private, because this time the private is going to grow much further. Last year it was 56,000 in public and 53,000 in private, right? But this year the growth is most likely to happen in the private sector because the permissions are being given to the private colleges. So to that extent, you might actually have about 57-58,000 of public and 57-58,000 of private education. Now, the private college seats are typically meant for those people who can actually afford to pay about 20 lakh rupees per annum as fees. And to that extent, it's out, right? Because many of you might not be able to afford the kind of fee that the private education starts. So what is left is about 57-58,000 seats of the government medical colleges. Within this also, if you remove the category seats, which is EWS, the PWD, the SC, ST, OBC, and many other categories that you have, what you'll be left with is about 25-28,000 seats for the government medical colleges that all of you in the unreserved category will be competing with. And OBC and all, by the way, these days the merit for OBC also is similar to what you have for the unreserved category in terms of the quality of student and the merit that it has. So if you want to put that in perspective and try to understand how do you get into these government medical colleges seats in the unreserved or OBC or those kind of categories, is what we're going to discuss it. And this would mean that you need to get a rank of about 30,000. 30,000 is the rank that you're looking for. And if it's OBC, the score of what the 30,000 student will get in the unreserved category, OBC also might have to get the similar score. And if that were to be true, how does it pan out with the difficulty level of the paper and everything? The other thing I want to tell you is that, see, you have about 23 lakh students, 22 lakh students taking the examination for about 1,15,000 seats. Now, why do you have about 12 lakh students passing out is still a mystery for me. But having said that, it is important for you to understand that the coaching institutions till now have been teaching you shortcuts. And anyone who went through a coaching practice which is about using the shortcuts to pass an examination, this time is bound to fail. Because the examination papers have a lot of conceptual clarity that it is sought of you. You need to define, bring in your own formulas at times. You need to understand the concepts, and the questions are very lengthy, which means that unless you understand the concept and the subject that you're discussing with, you're not going to crack it in one single go. So it is slightly time taking in that sense. And physics as an examination, I think this year has been unusually difficult, very unusually difficult. In fact, a lot of people say that it mimics something like a JEE advanced paper. About 10 to 12 questions in the physics paper are so difficult that even JEE main students cannot answer that, and NEET is a different standard till now. But who said the NEET standard different is a different game altogether, right? Because when you have 1,15,000 seats and 23 lakh students appearing for the examination, the difficulty level will still ensure that all of you are facing the same paper, one, and two, people who pass out actually have a conceptual clarity, understand how to manage time, and then still work on the examination paper. With these things as caveats, let me explain to you through data of what your score should be, and at which score what rank you'll get, and at which rank which your college you'll get. We'll discuss that also as we move along, right? Now, first of all, let me explain to you in a simple thing, right? We're talking of NEET 2025 at this point in time, and we're talking of NEET 2025 marks versus rank, right? You have 4 papers or 3 papers depending on how you measure that. One is physics, right? 2 is chemistry, right, and 3 is biology, right. Now physics was very, very tough. Chemistry was moderately difficult. It was not easy. Now biology as a paper was very lengthy, right. Now when you have this kind of a thing, what happens is physics was so difficult, you will actually have a score deflation of about 20%, minus 20%. Right. In chemistry, because of it's still moderate, but you need to have a lot more conceptual clarity to crack the chemistry things, because you actually had some kind of calculations also being given as a part of the thing, and that would mean that you need conceptual clarity. You're dealing with about minus 8% kind of a thing. And in this, biology was very, very lengthy as a paper, so you're dealing with between biology and about minus 4%. Now if you deal with this, the indexation will work to ensure that over the 720 marks that you have, you will actually have a score deflation of about between 8% to 12%. If you give a weightage for this whole thing, you will actually have a score deflation, which is score deflation, right. So all students in the middle rung that you're talking of, which is the 5,000 to 50,000 kind of a rank, will actually see a score deflation. And we're not talking the toppers, the 720 might fall down to 700 for all that you know, right. But the mid rung, which is the 3,000 rank or 5,000 rank to 30,000 rank or 40,000 rank, this will see a score deflation of about 8 to 10%, which essentially means that someone who got 650 last year on the paper, like if you are a student and you are preparing for a paper that was set in 2024, if you were getting 650, this year you might get about 580 only. Right, if you were getting 600 last time, you will get 540 only, because score deflation is between 8 to 12% is what we expect based on the kind of paper that was set this time around. Physics will see a massive drop. 180 is out of question. If someone gets 140, he's a brilliant kid, because remember, they prepared for the NEET examination and not for the JEE advanced examination. Chemistry, if you only going for rote learning or memory based questions, you're out. Unless you understand the concept, you could not have answered that. Then in biology, the paper was very, very lengthy. Many people could not answer all the questions. With all those things, we expect that the score deflation would be about 8 to 12%, or take it for simplicity purpose, 10% score deflation. When you have 10% score deflation, there is rank inflation also to that extent. Now based on this, if you have to move ahead to the next level, and let me explain to you how the data worked out over the past few years. 15 lakh students, of which about 14 lakh students appeared for the examination. But by 2024, 23.33 lakh students appeared for the examination. When you look at it, you actually have seen a growth of about 9.2 lakh. Right? Now that's a massive number. But this year, students who are going to appear for the examination, this is an advantage for you, because you're likely to see a 2.3 lakh drop. 2.3 lakh, which is 10% fall. So the number of students who are appearing for the examination this time is likely to see a 10% fall as compared to last year. That will be an advantage for you. So now we're dealing with two things here, mind you. One is the difficulty level of the paper would mean that even at a lesser score, you're likely to get the most rank. The rank that you thought you would get, even at a 10% lesser score than what you would have got if it was last year. And two, you also see a 10% drop in the number of students who appeared for this examination. Both these things will act in tandem for you, for your benefit. Right. So this is what we're dealing with, 14.1 lakh moving up to 23.33 lakh. But this year, it's likely to be 21 lakh. This is not the official data, remember that. But what we get as guesstimates based on all that we discuss around us is that we're likely to have about 23 lakh students possibly applied for the examination, registered for the examination, and about 21 lakh students appeared for the examination. Now, what happened over the previous years, right? The number of students who got a perfect score, which means they'll get a rank 1. Each of them will get a rank 1. If 10 people get 720 out of 720, all of them are going to get rank 1, right? Now, based on that, in 2019, not a single student who got 720, right? in 2020, 2 students got 720, which means there were 2 top rankers. In 21, there were 3 top rankers. In 23, there were 2 top rankers. In 22 and 2019, there was not a single guy who got the perfect score of 720. So to that extent, the top ranker actually got 716 in this year. And in 2024, which was a year where it had everything going, or everything that was not shouldn't be happening was happening for the NEET examination. You had a paper leakage, you had grace marks, you had people fighting in the Supreme Court and the high courts, and it went on and on and on. You had 17 students who got 720 on 720 and were the top ranker, the first ranker, right? This is very unusual, and I don't think it will ever happen again. In fact, my opinion, this year, of all the people, at 700, you will actually have not more than about, like, in 24, you had 1,626 students who got, 700 and above, right? This year, this might be just about 200. And if it's 200 also, it's very, very big, mind you, because physics paper is so difficult that I would expect it to be extremely difficult in that sense, right? But the number that we're dealing with is about, I don't think it will be 200 also, it might be 100 to 200, right? So this is what we're dealing with, that because we're dealing with a score deflation, a student who got 650 last year, if you have to appear for a paper this year, would get 580 only, right? A student who got 670 last time would get 600 only, because we're dealing with a 8 to 12% score deflation, right? A student who got 720, I don't think anyone would get it this time. A student who got 700, as I said, last year 1,626 and this previous year 347. If you get about 100 to 200 students, it is big, right? The number of students, by the way, right? Now at 680, a student who would have got 680 last year would get about 620 at the most, 610 to 620. So what we're dealing with is across the board, there will be a mark deflation or score deflation, what we call it. So to that extent, rank will also go up, right? So for example, if you had to get 14,000 or 45,000 last year at 630, right? At 630 this time around, you will still get about rank 1,500 to 2,000. And this will continue. Let me explain to you again in the next slide also. Now this is the score sheet that we have maintained over the past many years at all the score ranges, if you noticed. The 620 score range in 2019 was 4,130 rank. In 2020 is 11,945. In 21 it was 11,463. In 2022 it was 12,969. In 23 it was 18,756. But when you came to 2024, it was 55,815. In my opinion, if you were to get 620 score this time around, you will be at a rank range of less than 10,000. Less than 10,000. Because the score deflation has happened. A 620 score student this year would be equivalent to a 680 score or 690 score of last year. And if you go back to the score of 690 last year, you'll understand where I'm coming from, right? This rank would be less than 10,000. It will be between 8,000 to 10,000 in my opinion, right? And similarly, if you go further down at 600, last time it was 67,972. This time at 600, you will be between 10,000 to 15,000. Right, and so on and so forth. You actually have to look at it this way, that across the board, if you have to cut down 10% mark, what happens? 620 will become about 560, 565, 558 or something like that, right? 600 will become 540, right? 575 will become about 515 or something like that, 517, and so on and so forth. It will keep going down and all. And the important thing that you must remember is that this year, in all possibility, if you want to get a 25,000 rank, right? You are dealing with a 25,000 rank ultimately. You will be, if you are in a rank range, a score range of 580 to 600, you will still get many government medical colleges, because this will be the rank range up to which 25, 30, about up to 30,000 rank. So this will be the rank range that you will be dealing with. Because of the score deflation, because of the difficulty level of the paper, because of the conceptual clarity that is needed for the student, which was not given by the coaching institutions, and on and on and on, this is most likely to happen. Right. Now, why do we discuss this 25-30,000? Last year, under the All India quota, under the 15% All India quota, the highest rank that was required was in 24,842 in Nagaland Institute of Medical Sciences and Research in Kohima, under the 15% All India quota. Remember, at the state university level, at a state level, it will be different. It might go up to 40, 50, 60,000 also, depending on the state in which you're studying. But All India quota 15% is what we're dealing with for the government medical college seat, and this is where you're standing at this point in time. Right. So, for us, the benchmark is always about how can you get into a government medical college through the AIQ 15%, which means you're dealing with about 27-28,000 rank. And what is the score that you need to get that 27-28,000 rank? And that is the entire purpose of this entire video, mind you. Now, what we're going to do, because of the kind of issue that we have and because of the kind of shockwaves that this paper yesterday seems to have, rolled out across all the student community, we are opening a helpline. And that helpline, the mail ID is here in the screen. Please look at the screen and then start, sending us mails. My counselors would be available 24/7 for you, to help you, to guide you, and to lead you, right? And if you still want any expert counseling, and a question can be responded to, but if you want counseling, engage with us. For us, we don't work for any medical college. We work for you. We want to ensure that you get into the best college. We want to ensure that you get the best college based on your merit, your score, your aspiration. We don't work for an institution. We don't represent anyone out here. And we will do everything possible within our means to ensure that your score gets the best college that is possible. So write to us, talk to us. We have also some counseling products. You can actually, subscribe to them if you want. All I'm saying is, this is the time to open up and ask a question. Because if you want to keep it to yourself and trust people who are less informed or not informed, because they understand it based on perception, your neighbor, the uncle, aunt, and all, you might be losing out on a good opportunity, and that is not what you should be doing at this point in time. So talk to people, talk to us, or talk to anyone who is a counselor, but not an admission agent. Remember, talk to a counselor, genuine career counselor, and they will help you out to come out of this in flying colors. Thank you so much. Namaskar.